that Jeremiah had been put in the dungeon. And so he comes to the king when he's sitting at the gate of Benjamin, and Ebed-Melech went to the king's house and spoke to the king. He says, these men have done evil in that they have done what they've done to Jeremiah the prophet. They cast him into this dungeon. It's likely he's going to die there from hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. So not only are they not feeding him, there's probably nothing to feed him, because the Babylonians have surrounded the city. Everybody's eating everything up. There's, food is scarce. And so Jeremiah's plight is particularly horrible. And the king says to Ebed-Melech, well, take 30 men with you and lift Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he dies. So that's actually a pretty big move for Zedekiah, who's not used to making very many big moves, but he makes this one and basically orders the rescue of Jeremiah from the pit. So they do that. Here's this man, not really even a Hebrew, not really even a Jew, but he's serving around the king's court. And it's a terrible thing what has been done. So Zedekiah gets him rescued, and I won't read all the description, but basically they take some old clothes and have Jeremiah put them under his armpits and put ropes under there and just lift him out, as the description of the rescue is in the next few verses. So Ebed-Melech is in charge of that, and we might get back a little later in the lesson to something that is said about him because of his willingness to rescue Jeremiah. But what happens next is that Zedekiah again wants to talk to Jeremiah. And he says to him, I'm going to ask you basically something, and I want you to tell me the truth. I just want you to tell me, what's right. Don't hide anything from me. Jeremiah says, what in verse 15? If I declare it to you, you'll put me to death. If I give you advice, you won't listen to me. So, he's been down this road before, right? Zedekiah's been king for several years now, and he's had a number of experiences with Zedekiah, and he knows the fruitlessness of it all. But Zedekiah swears an oath, and he says, as the Lord lives, I'll not put you to death, and I'm not going to give you in the hand of the people that seek your life. So Jeremiah proceeds, and he says to Zedekiah, basically what he's been saying all along, if you surrender to the king of Babylon's princes, then your soul shall live. This city shall not be burned with fire, and you and your house shall live. But if you do not surrender, then the city shall be given into the hand of the Chaldeans. They shall burn it with fire, and you will not escape from their hand. So Zedekiah, kind of interestingly, we have a little bit of insight into his very fearful and timid heart at this point, and we understand suddenly maybe some of the fears that are motivating him to make really poor decisions at this point. What does he admit to Jeremiah there in verse 19? Yeah, if I surrender, then the Jews that have already gone over to the Chaldeans, when I get over there, my name's going to be mud with them, and they're going to take it out on me all this time, and all that kind of thing. So he's sort of between a rock and a hard place, he thinks. He knows that if he stays there, the Babylonians are sure enough likely to come in. They're knocking at the door right now, but he feels also that if he surrenders, it's going to be equally bad or maybe even worse for him. So when you're in a position like that, let me just tell you this. If you ever get in a position like that in life, and oftentimes we feel like we are, where it's going to be bad if you do this, and it's going to be bad if you do that. You ever been there? Here would be God's counsel. Do the right thing. Whatever the right thing is. You always do the right thing anyway. Doesn't matter if it's going to be good or bad. Just do the right thing. But right thing is not, I think, in Zedekiah's vocabulary. That's not the way he thinks. So Jeremiah says, look, they're not going to deliver you. The Jews are not going to deliver you. Just obey the voice of the Lord, and it's going to be well with you. But he says, if you refuse to surrender, what's going to happen to him? The next few verses. Yeah. All the women who are left in the king of Judah's house shall be surrendered to the king of Babylon's princes, And those women shall say, your close friends have set upon you and prevailed against you. Your feet have sunk in the mire. They've turned away again. So they shall surrender all of your wives and children to the Chaldeans. You shall not escape from their hand, but shall be taken by the hand of the king of Babylon, and you shall cause this city to be burned with fire. Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, I want you to remember that prophecy, by the way. This city, whether or not it's going to be burned with fire, is in the hand of Zedekiah right now, in this moment. And Zedekiah, he's not going to do anything about this. And his main concern now is, well, if the princes find out about our conversation, then they might come after me, or I'm going to be in trouble with them. So he tells Jeremiah, you know, if the princes ask you about this, if they hear that I have talked to you, just tell them something about, you know, how you don't want to be put back in the prison in Jonathan's house, and you don't want to be put to death and all that. Well, they've already talked about that. You might remember in an earlier chapter. So that is something that they talked about. So that's what Jeremiah is supposed to tell the princes if they ask what he talked to the king about. So that's how all that unfolds. In chapter 39, we have Jeremiah's record, partial record. It's found elsewhere in the Kings and in other parts of the book of Jeremiah. But here you have the fall of Jerusalem. In the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it. And in the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, on the 9th day of the month, the city was penetrated. All the princes of the king of Babylon came and sat in the middle gate, Nergal-Sharezer, Shangar-Nebo-Sarsakim, Rabsaris, Negal-Sharezer, Rabmag, with the rest of the princes of the king of Babylon. Now, earlier on, it was prophesied, Jeremiah prophesied to an earlier king, if y'all don't straighten up, the princes of Babylon are going to come and sit in the gate of this city and have control of it. You might remember that. And when we studied that in the earlier chapter, I shared this with you, but it's a fascinating, really fascinating bit of history to me, and I hope it is to you. How many people you think in the world could ever be named Nebu-Sarsakim? You know, that's just not... In all of world history, I think there's only one person that's named that. And he's in this story right here. This is a picture of a little tablet, a Babylonian tablet